The Dershow.
Let's not have any doubt about what Iran is doing now. Iran is developing nuclear weapons. It is developing the capability to fire these nuclear weapons, to trigger these nuclear weapons. Anybody who believes to the contrary is a fool or a knave. Nobody reasonable can believe that Iran wants to use nuclear energy solely for peaceful purposes. Nobody believes that. Nobody in Iran believes that. Nobody in Israel believes that. And no reasonable person in the United States believes that. Donald Trump does not believe that, thankfully. Marco Rubio doesn't believe that. Nobody in the administration believes that for a minute. Now, there's disagreement as to how best to achieve that. And obviously, we would all agree if the 100% goal of always preventing Iran from developing a bomb forever could be achieved without military action, that would be better, because in military action, people die. Although you can attack nuclear sites with minimal civilian casualties, as Israel did twice, once in Osirak in Iraq and the other in Syria, with almost no casualties. And so it's possible. Now, we know where the nuclear facilities are buried. Some of them may be buried underneath hospitals. That's a favorite tack of Israel's enemies, to put their leaders underneath hospitals. When Sinwar's brother was killed, Mohammed Sinwar, he was hiding underneath a hospital with 10 or so other people. And 6 people may have died. Innocent people may have died. But that's a perfect example of proportionality. The law says, if in order to kill 10 leading terrorists, heads of Hamas, you have to kill a proportional number of civilians, even if you try everything in your power to avoid killing them, but they're probably going to die. That's legal under international law. That's what proportionality means. And Israel has engaged in proportionality, and that's why it has the best ratio of combatants to civilians killed during the war in Gaza than any country in history faced with comparable threats of an enemy who hides its military in civilian enclaves, including underneath hospitals and underneath schools, in order willfully and deliberately to cause Israel to have the horrible Hobson's choice of, do you let the terrorists get away, or do you kill them, knowing that there'll be some civilians killed in the process? Every country has done that. When we nuked Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we knew that the vast majority of people would be killed. The ratio there was probably 1,000 to 1, non-combatants to combatants. In Dresden, probably the ratio was 100 to 1. In NATO's wars, the ratio has been 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1. In Gaza, it's either been 1 to 1 if you take Israel's figures, or 2 to 1 if you take figures given by other media, or if you take Hamas's figures, it's 3 to 1. So even the worst case scenario, Hamas's figures, it's better than any other ratio ever achieved by any democracy fighting wars of this kind. And yet Israel has been attacked not only by international fora like the UN and the International Criminal Court, but by its own former leaders, some of whom are afflicted by Trump derangement syndrome and would rather see Israel suffer than Netanyahu praised. So anybody who says that Israel has committed war crimes or acted disproportionately or committed genocide is just not telling the truth. Could Israel have done a better job? Who knows? Everybody has a right to complain about the job their country or a country that they support is doing, but Israel had an existential threat that it was facing from many places. At the beginning of the war, remember, there were 50,000 rockets aimed at it from Lebanon, and then many, many thousands of rockets from Gaza. And then in the middle of the war, or shortly after the war began, rockets aimed at it from Yemen. And of course, then there were rockets sent from Iran. It's a tiny country. It's the size of New Jersey. It has 10 million people, 8 million Jews, 2 million Arabs, Christians, Muslims. A third of the country are people of color. It's one of the most racially diverse countries in the world. and yet it's attacked as a colonialist, imperialist, warmongering, etc. None of this would have happened if Hamas hadn't broken its ceasefire on October 7th and killed, 2,500 people and I don't remember, 1,200 people and kidnapped 250 people. Sorry, 1,200 people and kidnapped 250 people. Most of the people who were killed, by the way, were young people who were peaceniks, who were active in the peace movement, and they were there at a peace concert. But Hamas doesn't distinguish between good Jews and bad Jews. If you're a Jew, you're bad, and you're subject to being killed. So, we live in a world of horrible anti-Semitism, but let's not misfocus the serious allegation of anti-Semitism. Hamas is anti-Semitic. The people who hand out Hamas leaflets are anti-Semitic. The people who called for globalize the Intifada and free Palestine from the river to the sea are anti-Semitic. Donald Trump is not anti-Semitic. Donald Trump is philo-Semitic. He's also philo-Trump. He likes Trump. He does things that are supportive of his values. You can criticize him for that. You can criticize him for a lot of things, but do not call him an anti-Semite. A lot of things happen when you do that. First of all, it trivializes the term anti-Semite. If an anti-Semite is one who recognized the Golan Heights, recognized Jerusalem, and did all the good things that Trump did for Israel and for Jews in America, if that's an anti-Semite, then anti-Semitism isn't so bad. It's like the Holocaust comparisons. People say, "Oh my God, Trump is like Hitler." If Trump were like Hitler, there wouldn't have been a Holocaust. And so, if you say Trump's like Hitler, you're denying the Holocaust. If you're saying that Republicans are like Nazis, you're denying the Holocaust. And so we have to be careful with our language because, these are serious matters. We live in a very crucial time. And so let's be clear. Let me end where I began. Donald Trump is not an anti-Semite. The New York Times lies when it says he is. CNN lies when they say he is. Democrats who call him an anti-Semite are lying. They know he's not an anti-Semite. They know what anti-Semitism is and how evil it is. And they know that the world's a complicated place where you don't see things in simple black and white terms. So let's stop demonizing Donald Trump by calling him an anti-Semite. Call him other things, be critical of him. That's what America's all about. We have free speech rights to be critical of our president, thankfully. But don't abuse that right by calling him an anti-Semite. He just isn't.